But the connection's pretty clear, don't you think? In terms of why we've gotten so many emails about this. I mean, I noticed it when watching The Phantom Menace recently as well.
Yeah, but my question is, David, do you find any obvious connection between the two? Are we supposed to jump to a conclusion that one is supposed to be playing off the other, or is it just Williams going toward those modes that he knows works for Star Wars?
That's a great question. I think that I think that especially because, George didn't direct The Force Awakens, I think it would be really, really hard to make a case for, they knew all along that Kylo Ren's theme would eventually come out of the landing at Tatooine, right? I think if anything, it's a neat coincidence, and it actually reminds me of another fan email that we got that kind of drives this point home, where you find these similarities, and we've talked about this before. You find similarities in John Williams, not just within Star Wars, but in, throughout different scores. You hear him kind of almost quote himself, whether intentionally, like in the case of E.T. at Halloween, he quotes Yoda's theme, or unintentionally, you hear a little bit of crossover here and there between films, especially when they were written in the same period. We talked about Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets versus Attack of the Clones was a great example. I think E.T. and Empire have that quite a bit. But I have an email here, and I believe it's from Krzysztof. And Krzysztof writes, I'm a big fan of Rebel Force Radio Oxygen podcasts, and I'm listening to them in Poland. Thank you so much. Wonderful stuff. I also attended the Star Wars Celebration in Europe. I was lucky to attend the presentation, The Restored Music, The Empire Strikes Back, which we played on the last volume. But he was looking at Rey's theme, and he said, I got the sequence of notes, and he just writes ACEADE, which, he just means, right? And then he goes, now when we change it slightly, swapping it two sounds, we have, which may easily ring the bell of Harry Potter's, Hedwig's theme, he's saying that they're kind of linked. And then he goes on to say, well, you can also do it with Mark Grisky's Sith Tomb theme from Knights of the Old Republic 2. And I'm apologize to Mark. He's a friend of mine, and I don't even remember this theme. Right? And then you can do it with Darth Sidious's theme, right? Right. So they're all kind of linked, but are they linked story-wise, or is it just, that is such a really emotionally almost palpable musical phrase, using this kind of minor key and then flattening the that note like that. And in the case of the ship landing, I don't know. I think it's just coincidence. Sorry, it's probably the longest way to say it.
Yeah, I don't see any connection, any relation between the two different pieces. It's just John Williams going to his old bag of tricks again. And I don't, I'm not saying that he's being redundant or repetitive. I just think that there are just certain sounds that work for certain moments in Star Wars, and sometimes they bear similarity to something that preceded it.
Yeah, I will, though, to kind of counterbalance that and to kind of give some credit to this email from Krzysztof from Poland, is that John Williams also talked about writing Star Warsian music. And I think that means that there are certain things that he always does. For example, the melodies, oftentimes have big interval leaps. That's an octave and a half spread there. Sometimes they do, what's the, they do big leaps back and forth. They're big, wide melodies for these big soaring melodies. And then I think one of the other bag of tricks for Star Wars is that there is a similar sort of dark side energy. He uses a similar language, and I think that language has been tapped more than once. And I think that's what we're picking up on here. But great email.
Really good. Really good.